So, I had decided for myself that lower surgery was a part of my transition. And I've talked about how important therapy is for. Therapy is really important for a lot of things. Society and the ethics and the cultures and everything changing all the time. The pressures on us individuals, and especially with trans people. People have been used to the acronyms LGBTQ, but they haven't really been educated on what the T stands for. Probably even the Q, but right now we're talking about transitioning. So I really feel it's important through every phase in our transition to seek a counselor that you are comfortable with and that you can talk to. Just talk thoughts through. It doesn't mean that they're going to tell you all of a sudden you can't transition. Nobody knows yourself better than you. Sometimes we just need help lining out our thoughts and getting our ducks in a row. Excuse me. When sometimes things can be really intense and confusing and just like transitioning, okay, now, or lower surgery. So Kaiser's covering lower surgery, and I started the ball rolling on that part. You have to go see a counselor that's been trained in that area through Kaiser. And then you have to see a different counselor that is trained in that area so that they too can confirm whatever they are looking for and not looking for, whatever. But by doing that process, I listened to myself and I felt, you know what, I really am ready for this. I've gone through phases and processes in my transition that I put a lot of thought into. I've listened to a lot of different opinions. I've listened to a lot of different experiences and adding my own views of myself and my experiences. And I really came to a point where I felt like, man, the door is opening for me. So I went through that process, got a consultation at the end of February for Dr. Crane in San Francisco, and he just started training Dr. Chen. So then here came the big thing, okay, do I really want to go through that intense surgery? Do I really want to have that intensity in recovery? Is my body prepared for it? Am I prepared for it? I'm not talking about lower surgery, but just everything that goes on with healing and possibilities of what cannot happen, all this. And then I started thinking, okay, well, if I go for the Metoid, then I don't have to worry about having 3 weeks up in San Francisco. I don't have to worry about imposing on anybody to help me out. I already knew my wife couldn't because she starts school, during that time in the summer, what we were looking for. We have 4 dogs at home that she needed to be with. So I started really juggling phalloplasty and Metoid. And I was getting myself sick. I was looking at everybody's videos and YouTube, anything I can find. I joined all the Yahoo groups, the Facebook groups, and people just made me more confused. There was so many experiences out there, and then there was so many opinions out there. People who were throwing in their 2 cents and they had never experienced any part of it. And it started making me upset because I thought, why would people comment on something they have no clue about? I mean, I could sit here and comment on everybody's life because it's just what I see, but that doesn't mean anything's factual, especially people trying to research things. So I got really, really just started getting anxiety. And Tony pulled me aside and said, look, I know you're trying to do the best for other people, but what's most important is you. And I really do not think you're going to be satisfied with Metoid. One of the reasons she knows that is because due to the levels of my testosterone that has been up and down for the last 4 years, I have not been consistent on a nice level for transition. I've dropped clear down to under 200 and gone up to 900 and then dropped down to 300. They can't figure out why. Even staying on the same dose and then upping it 100 milligrams a week, and I still didn't get up. And went through a big old infectious disease that I could have even died over. And so she knows that my main concern with Metoid was that I didn't have the growth. That one of the reasons I needed to have surgery was to, at the time it was Stand P was a priority. The main priority was to get rid of all the female stuff. And Metoid does that, and also phalloplasty. So she sat me down and said, look, you're trying to settle again in your life where you have an opportunity to do what you want, to be who you are, to have all the accessories with that. And she goes, you're not going to be happy with Metoid, and I think that you should really just quit that and think about what I've said. And I did, and she's right. So I stopped thinking about Metoid from that moment on, and I went for fallow. So my next phase in the process was, okay, what donor site? So as I'm living my transition and living as a guy, I'm still packing, and I'm still thinking, God, the day that I don't have to pack, you know, I still have this anxiety every once in a while if I have to use the restroom. I'm still wondering if people are looking at me questioning. So all this still goes on going into my 4th year. And so finally I made the decision to really talk to the doctor about donor sites and leave it in my faith, because I trust Dr. Crane. I chose Dr. Crane because of that. And any suggestion he makes, I'm going to go with it because he's the one experienced in it. I'm just choosing a donor site because I'm vain about my body. I didn't want a scar on my arm. I'm vain about my arms. So anyway, getting into the consultation, he did advised me that, checked my leg, told me my girth would be like this big around. I had a lot of more fat than a lot of guys, and even hit as thin as he is, his girth would have been this big around. He said, so I think that the arm will be better for you. I think you'll get a good phallus from it. And I said, okay. And that took off all that stress and anxiety from there. So getting home after this consult, I felt so much better, and I felt like finally my prayers are being answered. Finally, I mean, I thought transitioning alone on hormone therapy, my prayers are being answered. And then Tony said, yeah, let's do it. We can get the money for your top surgery. And we did that. And now Kaiser opens up, and Obama, I don't care how many people hate Obama. He's done a lot of good for this country. I'm not going to go into politics, but one thing he's done good is for transgender people, LGBT, across the board. And so Kaiser got on board with that, and I felt so blessed in this walk. But as I walk every day, and you know, I got prepared for the surgery. I've got videos on the surgery. I got my ducks in a row. I did a medical directive. I got everything to the day of surgery. I was so peaceful about everything that it also spread to my family. My family knew what I felt going into it, knew what, if something happened major, what I wanted after it. So it was a very, very good experience for me. In my transition alone, I have felt the most important part is about getting to know the person inside. We see through our eyes. We don't realize that we're not that person until we have to go to the bathroom, or till someone pronouns us, or we look in the mirror. But through our eyes, we still, and that's one of the arguments people are in my support group, that the counselor will say, you're not the same person. In retrospect, no, maybe not. Because you grow a lot, you envelop in life a lot. But when you look through your eyes and you still feel the same person. It's just people can see now that person on the inside. So transitioning has taken an emotional uprise as far as how I present myself, as far as how I feel about myself every day. I still go through times through the day when I'm busy in and out of my truck, in stores, Home Depot, Lowe's, that's mainly the stores I go to, about how people don't even have a clue. And it's not that I feel like I'm hiding something. It's just I have realized on this walk that I am truly unique. I don't know why we're given these walks here on earth. I don't know why it wasn't just as easy for me to be born male. But in my eyes, when I start processing these thoughts, I start thinking about my father, start thinking about my brother, my male cousins, the male uncles, my grandfather, and I start kind of evaluating their lives and their behavior. And I start thinking, I might have really had a hard time as a male. If I still have that spiritual person, the same person, there would have been a lot more demand upon me and maybe a lot more heartfelt or heartaches. I don't know. But I start thinking about, I am thankful. I'm thankful for this unique journey. Because even though I'm not the most perfect person, and even though I don't say always the right words to explain, to define what I'm talking about, even though I can get very upset and intolerant of stupidity and immaturity and guys or people who think I'm or portray that I'm stupid, even though all that stuff, I still work every day on rounding myself, rounding off the edges to where I come in full circle with myself. And transitioning these last 4 years has really, really made those edges smoother. Even if I've kind of rounded them off already, I go through it and sand it, and it becomes smoother. And by God's grace, I've had the opportunity to have both my surgeries, come out of them just fine with no complications. My phallus is my penis. It's a part of my body. It may not look like John Doe next door, but it may not perform like Jethro Henry down the block. But it's mine. It's a part of me. And it has made me whole as one. So my journey has gone through a lot of physical changes, a lot of emotional changes. I've grown spiritually even greater. My mind has, it's matured in many ways. I've always looked out of the box, but I've been forced to look out of the labeling box. I've been forced to look beyond my own needs and see that other people have needs. Even though they're different from mine, they're still just as important to them as mine are to me. So this has been a beautiful walk, and it's had its ups and downs, it's had its rocks in my path, and it's had its hurdles that I've had to overcome. And I've walked through the valley, and I've hit the mountaintop just to go down the other side to walk another valley. And that's what life's about, and that's what I look forward to. I look forward to growing as a person. What can I learn? And all my little imperfections, I am hard on myself, people. I mean, I don't sit here on this YouTube and give advice or tell you about my experiences without it being a hard time for me. Nothing has come easy for me. So anyway, I wanted to share the 4 years on T in a different way. I hope all of you are doing well. I hope that you take each day, one day at a time. Control what you can. Try to live with what you can't. But always make choices and decisions to make your journey as simple as possible. We'll see you later.